Jim, I know the competition hasn't been great. The San Antonio Spurs were playing without, Victor Wembanyama. They were bad with Victor Wembanyama, so that was not a shocker that the Bucks were able to win that game Tuesday night. Prior to that, they beat, among other teams, the Detroit Pistons, who have one of the longest losing streaks in NBA history. But it does feel like they've turned a corner. This game against the Rockets on Sunday was really impressive, I thought, and it just there is something there offensively at the very least that wasn't there before. They are putting up some crazy scoring numbers at this point. To say they've turned a corner, I feel like I don't have enough data, but it also kind of feels like that's what's happened. How do you look at it? Do you feel like this Bucks team has in fact turned a corner?
Well, I mean, offensively, you mentioned Houston. Yes, they have played a couple of bad teams in Detroit and San Antonio, but I don't think there's a coincidence in that Chris Middleton has played 30 minutes a game now in 5 games. He didn't play against Detroit, front end of back-to-back, but since he has now graduated to a full workload, guess what? Mm-hmm. The offense is rolling at a rate that it had not all year. And while it's not just a Chris Middleton thing that's now 20 games of Dame and Giannis and Brook together, JR, there seems to be a theme. Like last year, they're 500 for 2 months. Chris Middleton shows up. Yeah, he's coming off the bench. They rip off 16 in a row. Like, the guy is an important part of what they do. So there's that. But on the broader level, yes, I do think that defensively you're seeing improvement. Still in the bottom third of the league in total ratings, points, etc. However, over the last 10, they're like 10th, 11th in some of these things. And yes, there are breakdowns. And I think with this team, there are always going to be. But you're not seeing what we saw at the start of the year, which is a whole ton of just wide open layups and wide open dunks and wide open threes. Like, you're seeing a little more connectivity. The guys, to their credit, have told us that this is what was going to happen and it was going to take time. And they're still saying, hey, defensively, it might take even longer to get where they want to go. But JR, I do think, they've hit a stretch here where guys have been healthy for the most part. And you're seeing that chemistry come together, frankly, from playing almost 30 games.
I want to talk a little more about Giannis. He coming off his 64-point game, which of course was a franchise record. He ends up with the career rebound record. He passes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem is now out of the top 5 categories at the very top, with Giannis passing him on the rebounding chart. It's not a surprise. Kareem only played 6 seasons. Giannis, of course, in his 11th, so he was going to get there for sure. He's probably going to still get steals to get all 5. And as I was looking through sort of the list of other players who have 4 major stat category, who are in first for a specific franchise, we're talking Michael Jordan, LeBron James, we're talking the best of the best, Hakeem, Patrick Ewing, and Kevin Garnett, who's the only one who is first in 5 categories for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And, Garnett is interesting because is that how people are going to remember Giannis? I'm trying to sort of put my arms around his greatness. I mean, Kevin Garnett is unquestionably one of the greats of the game, but people don't think of him when they say, name the 5 greatest players in NBA history. Kevin Garnett doesn't jump to mind. At least I don't think it does for a lot of people. I feel like that's a similar situation to Giannis, but I also don't want to shortchange. I don't want to shortchange either side of that equation, Kevin Garnett or Giannis. So as you've gotten on a bigger picture level, thinking about his greatness, where does he fall in NBA history? How do you think people are going to remember him when this is all said and done?
Yeah, I think, they're definitely in 2 different classes when you talk about KG, largely because Kevin's best years were in Minnesota. His championship came in Boston.
Right.
And an all-time great. He's probably in the bucket of all-time great power forwards, whereas Giannis, with the MVPs, the Finals MVP, the championship, has graduated to the all-time part of it, and that we're splitting hairs. I believe Kevin Garnett on the top 75. JR, I can't recall.
Almost positive he was, but I don't know off the top of my head.
If Anthony Davis was and Damian Lillard, I would think KG is as well. Yeah. But anyway, it's still. You're in that Giannis's MVPs, DPOY, obviously Jordan and Hakeem are in that class only. And even if he ends his career with just 1 championship, it's where he won it, I think that carries more weight, even if he were to eventually move on and, win one or two as part of some other organization. This is the one that, is gonna be the signature point of his career. It's all the highlights. It's, and so, yeah, look, Kareem, the NBA was different back then. Obviously, fewer teams, fewer players. He came in ready to dominate as a 3-year college player at UCLA, and he won 3 MVPs, JR, and a Rookie of the Year, and a Finals MVP in 6 seasons. Like you just said, it took Giannis almost twice as many years to reach all of those, right? And now Giannis's last 6, you could say, have been maybe as dominant as Kareem's in Milwaukee. But that's a fun Milwaukee Barstool debate, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even know how many old heads are around that could truly get into it with folks, because we're just talking about conceptual Kareem at that point. Most of us saw him at the tail end of his time, right? When Magic kind of took the torch. But Giannis is definitely, I think these types of things just burnish the resumes of guys like that. And he kind of joked about the in-season tournament and will this count or mean anything? And LeBron James thought it did. So when guys like that kind of put a flag in something, that's going to matter now for as long as that tournament exists. LeBron won the first one. LeBron won the first MVP. When he goes into the Hall of Fame, that's going to be on there. So, Giannis, I think is not. I think. I mean, I know he's in that conversation now. The GOTs of the league, I think he's still got a ways to go. But adding, the sort of individual franchise records, those are things those are those fine hairs, JR, that separate from others, if you will. And it's pretty remarkable that, he'll never catch Chris Middleton on the threes, but steals he's got a shot there, and it's regardless of what happens beyond his next contract or contracts, he's in that conversation.